Donald Trump ran an ad recently, but the Washington Post analyzed it and realized that it was incredibly misleading. So let's take a look at the Washington Post report that exposed this Trump ad. So here is this Washington Post report. Now, this is actually a super in-depth article, and unfortunately, I won't have enough time to go over all of it, so we'll just go to the most important parts. So let's start by reading this. Republicans flood TV with misleading ads about immigration and the border. And you could see this fancy, animation stuff that they have going on. You could tell that this was a really big thing for them. Throughout the year, American airwaves were inundated by campaign advertising mentioning immigration, placing the issue at the center of this year's elections. In recent weeks, both parties have raced to be seen as tougher on border issues, with Donald Trump painting Kamala Harris as weak and Harris leaning into her prosecutorial experience. Many of these ads, which ran from January through June, misled voters by portraying the US-Mexico border as a chaotic scene overrun by violent criminals, implying an immediate danger that does not align with reality. So this was just their little intro scene here, and then they go into a little bit more detail. But let's go ahead and go down specifically to the misleading ads. So here we are. This is the section, Trump versus Harris, a race to be seen as tougher. In the past several weeks, both the Trump and Harris campaigns released ads linking border security with gangs, drugs, and violence, both attempting to be seen as tougher. Harris's ad calls her a border state prosecutor that went after border gangs and claims as president she'll crack down on fentanyl and human trafficking. And this is the ad that they are referencing, so let's go ahead and play that real quick.
Kamala Harris has spent decades fighting violent crime. As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border. As vice president, she backed the toughest border control bill in decades. And as president, she will hire thousands more border agents and crack down on fentanyl and human trafficking. Fixing the border is tough. So is Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
And so now that you've seen that, let's go ahead and continue. Trump's first ad after securing the Republican nomination includes several misleading claims and describes Harris as America's border czar, a title she never held. A narrator later states under Harris over 10 million illegally here, as 5 images of people crossing the US-Mexico border flashes across the screen. And then here is this ad, so let's go ahead and play that so you can see this clip.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
This is America's border czar, and she's failed us. Under Harris, over 10 million illegally here. 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl, brutal migrant crimes, and ISIS now here.
Do you have any plans to visit the border? You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. I don't understand the point that you're making.
Kamala Harris failed, weak, dangerously liberal.
So now that you've seen that, let's go ahead and dive deeper. 4 of those border crossing scenes occurred while Trump was president. The original photos were all sourced to Getty Images. 3 of the photos were taken in 2018 in Tijuana. 1 was from 2019, taken in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And then here are the 4 photos in question. It is crazy that in an ad complaining about the border security, they showed 4 images from Trump's border security. You can't get any more ironic than that. When asked about the misleading ads, a spokesperson from Trump's campaign wrote in an email, "The Washington Post should spend less time analyzing President Trump's ads and more time focusing on the subject matter at hand. Kamala Harris's deadly border invasion that has allowed more than 11 million illegal people to enter our country." And the Washington Post here wastes no time slapping back at this response. The Biden administration has not admitted that many immigrants at the border. The Department of Homeland Security estimates that 11 million undocumented immigrants were living in the United States as of 2022, 79% arriving before 2010. So this claim that Kamala Harris let over 11 million people into the country is just so wrong on so many levels. 79% of this 11 million was before 2010. That is an insane mishap from this Trump spokesperson, and it's just honestly so embarrassing. But not only that, Biden has released more than 3.4 million migrants at the southern border to face immigration proceedings since he took office. So this was an insane clapback by the Washington Post to this Trump spokesperson. And it clearly has backfired by a lot. Since Harris secured the Democratic presidential nomination, recent data from Ad Impact shows Republicans are heavily focusing on immigration and crime and accusing Harris of mishandling the US-Mexico border, while Democrats are emphasizing legalizing abortion and the economy. Honestly, it's just kind of dumb to me that Republicans are focusing so much on the border. Now, I understand that that's basically the only thing that they can focus on, but like against Kamala Harris, that's just not going to go well because she was a prosecutor. You know, she is the worst person for this strategy to work on, especially since Kamala is taking the stance as hard on the border. It's just not going to go well. American politics, according to Peter Loge, director of the School of Media and Public Affairs at George Washington University, at some level always been garbage. Fake pictures are just a continuation for proud American tradition of doing anything for a vote. Lodge added, people are going to make good faith mistakes, but people that work on campaigns are paid to get it right. And I think this is the key message here. They are paid to get it right. Trump and his team are so bad that they couldn't find images that were not from his presidency, or at least they didn't take time to double check that. And I think that shows you the level of care and dedication that the Trump team truly has. Trump wants to get these ads out so quick that he's not even checking for any errors or checking to see if anything's actually true or not. So they're willing to make all these little mistakes and purposely lie at the expense of the American people. So overall, this was an embarrassing mistake on Trump's part, and it really shows how he cannot find any actual issues on the border aside from those during his presidency. If you need more proof of whose border policy was more effective, look no further than Trump's own ads.